So let's talk about a bunch of things here. My head is still obviously in this situation because it's a major situation, what's going on in the world right now. And I told you before, we don't know how this is going to end. Meaning that we do know, and we have a fundamental belief that it will all good will triumph. That is the reality. There's a plan to the world, and the plan will unfold in the best way that evil will be removed, will be seen to be a lie, and the world will come to a place of truth and awareness. Now, again, there will be those that will fight against it. You can see them right now. These people are, as I said, for many weeks already. Yes, there are people that are unfortunately very uninformed and very uneducated and very brainwashed. But there's a certain point where it's getting too far out of hand. When you see the terrorists, what they're doing, and you still are not sure what's good and what's evil, there's something deeper going on. But in the end, truth will win. And I can't tell you, if this is going to be unfold into the third and final war of the Gog and Magog process. It may. But I know for one thing for sure, as I've said for the past few weeks, this is clearly a very clear step towards the coming of Mashiach, a time of clarity and truth. And I guess I don't know if it'll come right now. I don't know if Mashiach's coming today. He's coming, this Pesach, this Passover, which is the time Mashiach does come. And I don't know if it's going to be in 5 years or 10 years. And I don't know if it's going to be, I don't know. We don't know. Anyone tells you they know that it's not true, because it's concealed. We know it can happen any day. All the signs are in place. And we don't know if it'll happen right now, but I do know, and I've said to you this many weeks here, that I know this is a major brick in the wall. This is a major step, because what's happening is the process I explained to you once called Birur, where everyone is picking a side, and the side becomes clearer what is good and what is true and what is not. So that's happening, and so we have to deal with the issues here, and so I want to talk a minute about the ceasefire situation, and just to understand again, and this people we need, especially everyone now living in a Facebook world of slogans and social media, we need to think, because the assumptions that people say, the words they say, we don't know what they're referring to. What do they mean exactly? Ceasefire. A ceasefire sounds like a wonderful thing. Stopping violence. Who doesn't want to stop violence? I'll tell you a good place for a ceasefire. A good place would have been Ukraine and Russia. That would have been a good place for a ceasefire. Why would that have been a good place for a ceasefire? Because what the goals of the people for the war could have been come to some kind of peace settlement. Russia did not want Ukraine to become part of NATO, and they said if that would have been the case, they say, and many intelligent scholars say this is true. They're saying that Russia would not become, if Ukraine were not part of NATO, they would not fight. They would fight this because it's an existential war, where they view as an existential threat. Okay, there's the Donbass area, but there is a place where you could have a ceasefire, and that should have been tried, because the idea of saving Ukraine by destroying the nation and 400,000 people, Ukrainians have been killed. Who did we help exactly? Who did this do good for? A ceasefire there would have been a really smart thing to do. Really smart. And like, I see someone has a President Trump a sign up there. When former President Trump says he would make peace in one day, it's true, he would. It's simple. It's simple. How do you do it? I'll show you how to do it. The $115 billion we're giving you? We're not. Oh, let's make peace. It's really not it's not, but these people are lying to us. So what happens is that we're going to fight to the last standing Ukrainian. I mean, what? That would have been a good place to put a ceasefire. Let me tell you where a bad place to put a ceasefire is. When there's a war, and one side says, our objective is to kill and destroy you. See, their ceasefires make sense. Because what is the point of a ceasefire? Because the goal is not an objective thing of, I don't want you to become part of NATO. I'm arguing about a point of land. There's nothing a point of land. So I said to you the first week this happened. We gave them Gaza. We forced ourselves out. You have it. What's going on? So really, this is not a place for a ceasefire. Because what's the ceasefire? The ceasefire is, as we know the ceasefire is the idea that they want to restock their ability to kill and destroy the Jewish nation. That is what it is. It's not a hidden thing. It's pretty obvious. That's why I said 6 hours of no surveillance. Why? Because they're going to bring in bombs. And so therefore, again, they didn't ask me, and I don't know if they asked the rabbis and the sages if this should have been done. The idea of exchanging captives for terrorists, that's a very tricky halachic question, because you may free the captives now, but you're endangering everyone because they're terrorists. We even know one of the guys who planned the attack of October 7th, we know he was freed from an Israeli jail as a terrorist in the trade for Gilad Shalit, which was an Israeli army a man who was taken captive, and they gave 1,000 terrorists for one, loving, kind Jew who was taken by these terrorists and held. And so that's really a big discussion, because you could maybe say that this is a definitive saving of a life and maybe an endangering or not. And that's a discussion in the rabbinic literature that I'm not going to get into now because they didn't ask me and they're doing what they're doing. But to me, and I don't know, because I wasn't asked, and again, I wouldn't answer. The people of government needs to ask are the leading sages of the generation. I don't think they really asked them, though some of them reportedly told people in the Knesset to vote. But to me, and so I'm not saying this as a halachic decision, a legal decision, because I didn't go through the whole sides of it. But to me, this is a worse problem. There's a worse problem than trading innocent people for terrorists, which that I'm not sure that according to many opinions, that's forbidden also and should not be done. But this is worse because the ceasefire is a definitive state of causing a problem. It's not a question. What are they doing during the ceasefire? They're not going and helping the premature babies. That's not what they're doing. They're telling people come up from the south, which has already happened. They're telling their civilians, go walk back into the war zone so you can protect us by being human shields. They're gathering their arms. We know right now in the war, it is a very counter intelligent thing to do to allow a ceasefire. And therefore, I don't know. They really didn't consult with the sages, and I don't know what the sages did say because it's a political decision. It doesn't, to me personally, it doesn't make so much sense that this should be allowed in Jewish law, because you are endangering an entire nation immediately because you cause a ceasefire when the enemy says we're trying to destroy you. You know what they're doing. So it's a problem. Now, but I want to do what's called kapslus. I want to defend my misguided Jewish brethren. I want to defend them because although they don't know what they're doing very often, and I said to you a few weeks ago, I was like, I mentioned this last week, I think it was, when I saw the son of Hamas guy praising the Israelis, who he said were the smartest, most creative, beneficial people in the world, and I said, to me, it was a fascinating thing to hear because the guys he's praising are considered to be the most uninformed Jews who don't really know what they're doing. And there are a lot of those. Elon Musk just got into some hot water because he made some kind of comment, and he's not wrong. There are many left-wing Jews who do support things that are against the Torah. You cannot let terrorists into your country. It is wrong. It is forbidden. There's no justification for it. It's not Judaism. It's a Jew who doesn't know the Torah and he's making up his own stuff and he wants. But I give you I want to give them the benefit of the doubt of a second. I'll tell you why. Because I do know it comes from a place of goodness. It's confused and it's misguided because there's only one way to know it's right. What does God say is right? If you think that you're going to make a system that's smarter than God, good luck. As you all know, I've said it many times, every single system anyone's made of a self-help program, which was so great for 10 years, after 15 years, they're like, wow, that was stupid. Because why? Because the guy's ideas aren't it's not going to be ultimately correct. And that's why you could have your ideas of morality, what you think is right, but what does God say? What does the Torah say? So a Jew who is trying to be a left-wing sympathizer who thinks a ceasefire or something, which I told you, in Israel, it's amazing now because the left-wing Israelis who parallel sort of the American left-wing Jews, they got it now. They got it. Finally. They got it. They're like, we can't live with these people. These people, the people who were slaughtered were people who were the biggest supporters of Gazans. They brought them in. They knew what was happening in their house because these people were helping support them. They used to go every day and bring them to the hospital and do all this kindness for them. And they went and they butchered them. You hear this? It's not, they didn't butcher people that they, because it's unfortunately when you have a foreigner and people can hate people they can't relate to. These are the people that were taking care of them. They went and they turned them in. They butchered them. So the Israeli left has gotten it. So what I'd like to say here is that I think that this idea of the ceasefire is a wrong idea. I think I haven't spoken to other rabbis about it because against a political, they're not asking us. But from my own vantage point, it seems to me make no sense. And I know the idea of trading the innocent hostages for terrorists. There is some discussion. There's a great rabbinic literature, great pages, thousands of pages discussing it. And you want to save a life But this to me is much worse because I know what they're doing now during the ceasefire. So I don't really hear any legal halakhic, Jewish law rationale for it personally. But I do again want to say that what happens is that even the misguided Jews here are doing this because they really want to save human life. They traded 1,000. I mean, it's like I just heard Rabbi Rabbi would say that when Gilad Shalit was traded for 1,000 terrorists, for one Jew. So, you think it's crazy? Well, yeah. On the other hand, we actually value a life. The 1,000 people, they're gonna throw them in front of the hospital and have them blown up. So it's like So I heard him say, he says, now that they're giving 3, terrorists to one Jew, they're going to get a Nobel Peace Prize because now they've really, they're freeing, 1/3. It's unbelievable. So I think it's the wrong thing to do personally. However, I hope and I pray and I believe strongly that Hashem is going to see even though it's misguided, that this is from a place of good intent, that they want to save human life. And God willing, will be protected from the really, God forbid, terrible things that could happen from this seemingly very foolish idea. I'm right now, as I told you, I'm not listening much to the news, as I told you last time, because if I was somebody who was assessing the situation, by logic, it wouldn't be good. It wouldn't be good. You have a culture that chooses death over life, but they don't care if they kill all the people. As long as at the end they could say, yeah, we won. In some way, they're okay with that. So they choose death over life. And now, you have a world that people don't know what's up and what's down. So, I've been amazed that, Biden is President Biden, will turn on them. He has already. I was even amazed that he had any type of backing, But, and as I said to you, the people, those people are not the issue. The issue is, as I said to you last week, the Jews are learning what they got. The people who were sold into a different mindset are getting their lesson. The Jews are uniting. They're connecting to the Torah and the mitzvahs in a deeper level, and that is going to, in the end, win the war, no matter what. In my opinion, now it's a fact. No, it's going to. But the process, I don't know 100%. But what's going to happen is that. So I hope and I pray that the mistaken and foolish action of this ceasefire, which does not seem to line up with Jewish law, will be not backfire because of the good intent of the misguided people. That's the first thing. And then to understand that in the end, what's going to happen is the following. And this is going to happen. I just don't know when. But this is what is going to happen. And I want to share it with you. So there's a situation in the world where, and it's a very, very terrible situation. It's talked about in the Torah, in the 5 books, in the book of Deuteronomy. It says that at some point God will hastir panai. God will hide his face. And what does that mean? What does it mean, God will hide his face? Well, that means that when I look in the world and I see evil people prospering, I got a problem. That God's face is concealed, because you don't see him running the world the way he's supposed to. And that's a time of concealment. And that's a time where the evil flourishes, and the righteous have to really look deeply and understand that although this is what is being presented, they have to see in a deeper process. And that's been the situation in the world for a while. Before the Mashiach comes, that situation of concealment gets even worse. That's where we are now. And that's what it says. It says that before the Mashiach comes, all the nations will have these crazy philosophies, sorry, as we do see clearly, crazy, crazy philosophies. And they'll have these crazy, crazy beliefs. And righteousness will be very hard to come by, because people will tell you all the wrong things. And that is a concealment of God's life. And that's what we're up to. However, what you must understand is that is a temporary state, a state that is a precursor to the time where everyone will see clearly that God is running the show. And it is always the darkest hour before the dawn. It's the way it works. And there's a reason for that. The reason for that is that when the darkness becomes so palpable that you really believe that this guy's in control and evil, then you see God is directing the show. Then you realize there's one source of all. And that is the revelation of understanding truth in the world and ridding of evil and false gods. Even though people don't, may practice idolatries did in the old days, but they still have their false gods and their beliefs that they think are their power or what their objectives are. Now, so what's happening is that we're in this tough state. But I can guarantee, whether it'll be fully today or fully tomorrow, but I can guarantee you it is extremely close. The point where the switch happens. Right now, I have been hearing various stories coming out of the front lines in Gaza. And some of these are firsthand accounts. I heard one from one rabbi who heard it from the guy it happened to. Same thing also, I heard it from a rabbi who had heard it from the wife of the person it happened to. But things are happening. For example, this is a story that I've heard from a reliable source. I've heard it firsthand. I don't know how many days ago, it's probably a couple weeks ago already, there was the soldiers sitting in Gaza, and they were sitting in their encampment, and they were eating and they were cleaning their weapons, which is what soldiers do. You have to clean your weapons. Now, any soldier who's been trained knows how to clean their weapon properly. The idea of a bullet shooting out when weapons being cleaned is like, I remember 1/4 million shot chance. It doesn't happen because this is what people do. These people are soldiers. It's not whatever. Yeah. So this guy was sitting there. He had his rifle, and he's cleaning his rifle. And what happens is the rifle's facing over his shoulder, and as he's cleaning it, a bullet is discharged. And as the bullet's discharged, at that split second, a Hamas terrorist with an RPG had popped his head up and was about to shoot an RPG on the whole camp. The bullet shot him and killed him on the spot. And then the other soldiers were able to go into grab the RPG and take control of the situation. A 1/4 million shot never happened. The rabbi told me the story. He said he himself was in the army 3 years, never heard of such a thing. He cleaned it. And as the guy picked his head up with the RPG, hit him. Now that is something that is, you can look at it. And today, with the crazy world, people could say, well, that was a freak accident. In the same way, when the Jews came to the Red Sea and Pharaoh was facing them, the sea happened to split. There was a guy named Immanuel Velikovsky, a great scientist. And he wrote a book. And Immanuel Velikovsky said that what happened was when the Jews came to the Red Sea, there was a change in Venus's orbit, and there was a strong pull and it caused the sea to split. Now, I don't know, Emmanuel, maybe that's true, and maybe you even have scientific facts to prove it. But what the heck's the difference? That happened to go when the Jews hit the Red Sea, that's when it happened, But again, people have childish understandings how God runs his world. They think that a hand's coming out from the heavens and splitting the sea. The text says that God made a tremendous wind and split the sea. So how God does his miracle, that's not our business. But for the bullet to shoot out the second that the guy pops up his head with an RPG, so what's going to happen is everyone's going to see that God runs the world. And what they're going to see is that, and again, I have to say it important to understand. It's not an egotistical thing. It's that God chose Abraham, and he said to his descendants, "You must be a light unto nations." And so therefore God's name has been connected to the Jewish people. Everyone knows that. Everyone knows that. But the Christians say, well, but now we got in charge. And now the Baha'i say, we're not. But they all intersect at one point. They all agree. A majority of the world, certainly all the monotheistic religions, or the semi-monotheistic religions, believe that there was God chose the Jewish people. And then they just say, okay, but, it changed, and there's a new thing. Okay. So, but the reality is that the world knows that. And therefore, the greatest revelation is going to happen here. Because when you start to see, those who can see, the more and more of the miracles, they say, whoa, wait a minute. Somebody is in charge, and somebody has a plan. God is protecting his people. And God willing, even when I have confused Jews who are the politicians, or the left-wing mistaken Jews that I vehemently disagree with, because what they're saying is completely off the wall, has no bearing on Judaism. None of these things, none of the things you hear a secular Jew like Chuck Schumer saying, or any of these guys, does it have any bearing on anything the Jews have ever done? No source. It's just these guys are shooting from the hip. They're making stuff up. But I do understand that there's a place, even amongst this left-wing Jewish problem, which is really a problem. But they're trying. They're just confused. They want to help the poor immigrants, because they know they were poor immigrants. The Torah says in many places the commandment to love the stranger, because the text says you were strangers in the land of Egypt. And every Jew has in his consciousness that we were slaves in the land of Egypt, that we have been persecuted, and they want to help the downtrodden. But again, if they don't have the Torah, they're going to take all their good intent and make it as stupid as humanly possible. There it is. Dan, I don't know if I could be more politically incorrect than that, but that's what it is. It's just political. It's just idiocy. However, it does have good intent in their deepest place. I do believe they do have that. And what's going to happen here is that we're going to start to see more and more miracles. Will you see the level of miracles now that will make everyone come and say this is the truth? I don't know. But I know that already, if you just hear what's going on, those that want to see will start to see. I heard another story. We were actually, I was mentioning about my album. We were actually trying to work a video out, and this was actually one of the stories that we're going to do, one of the themes that we're doing, this kind of idea in one of the songs. But this also, I heard this from I heard it was going around, the rabbi who this happened to. There was sometimes there is, unfortunately, friendly fire. It's not so friendly, but what happens is, which, by the way, as I said to you before, what they're doing in this whole thing in Gaza of trying to save everyone and go around and flip around and try to protect the guys. They know the things on the hospital. That is wrong. You want to try to save as many people as you can in a time of war. That's wonderful. Great. Now it endangers your own soldiers. You can't. That's war. You didn't start the war. You don't want the war. You've sent flyers, get them out. You tell the UN, who are a bunch of phonies and a bunch of hypocrites and liars, and they know it. They know exactly what's going on. They know the hospital's covering. They know it. They're party to this evil. So now you're going to go and do these flips and turns and contort yourself to go house to house, door to door, not to hurt the innocent people. And again, as I said last week, I'm sure there are innocent people there. How many? I don't know. I know a majority of them voted for Hamas. And when you see the films, they are cheering. So how many are innocent? I don't know. I don't know. But I know it's a war, and we're endangering our own soldiers. And sometimes because you can't see what you're doing, you're going into this whole, door to door, corner to corner mission. That sometimes they mess up and it's friendly fire, and they shoot on their own people. And that happened. The 51st Golani Brigade actually did not recognize another Jewish brigade and shot at them. And they had this. What's it called? It's called a. I don't know what it's called. It's an armored. What's it called? I wrote it down. An armored personal carrier, and it has on it called a katlan. Is what they call it. The katlan in Hebrew is the Hebrew term. It's like a big destruction, essentially. That a heavy caliber machine gun set there with a computer gauge to hit what they thought was the enemy, but it was actually their own people. And what happened was there was a problem with the artillery they were using. So they switched it for another type called I wrote it down, a mag. I don't know, mag, but I don't know. And so this also is computerized, and it shot into the area that was they set the computer to shoot in to kill what they thought were the terrorists, and it was our own people. But they didn't recalibrate the thing exactly right. And somebody got hit. A Jewish soldier got hit. Where did he get hit? He showed this literally to the rabbi that was there on the base. He got hit in his pocket. His pocket. He showed the rabbi he had a hole in his pocket. Nothing happened to him. The pocket had a hole in it. And he pulls out of his pocket what he was keeping with him. Well, he had a holy book called Oros HaTshuva, a book on the life of repentance, holy Jewish book that he had in his pocket. That this mag went through the pocket, and the rabbi said the thing was basically unscathed. The book was unscathed, it had like a tiny scratch on it. How this thing skimmed him and went through the pocket, I don't know. But I know the point is that when a person is going to have a honest eye, they're going to see that God runs the world and he has a plan. And those who don't, they will not. They will dig their heels in further and further. We talked about that before. It's even as I said to you, there's an opinion that even after the Mashiach comes, there's going to be people that are going to dig their heels, and even then, that sounds crazy, but there are people who are doing that. So what happens is that there is a place where the miracles are there. You could look and you could see, but there's going to be a point, and it's coming soon, where it's going to be so obvious that people are going to be like, got it. And the people who don't get it will be on the wrong side of history forever. And that's really what is happening right now. So how, when, it's hard to say. But what is clear is that when God demonstrates that he is in complete control, and he's taken his nation and he's given them a task, and he protects them and he guides them. And even though, the Jews have gone through so much persecution, but any Jew that is connected to his roots understands that that's part of the process, and understands that this process is an eternal process. We don't believe that this is all there is in life. Okay, we believe there's an eternal life, and if somebody's time comes and that's when he's gonna, it doesn't mean he's dead. It means that he's part of this process of God revealing himself. And we've been through a lot of times where it's been the Hester pun in the hidden face of God, because you look at the world and you saw things bad. And now you see it even more. Now there's a real difference. Wow, you could start to sense. I think everyone senses, an honest person senses it. It's the dawn before it's the darkness before the dawn. And now as these miracles become more and more and more, you see what's really happening, that there is a creator of the world. Nothing's changed. He's had the plan. Plan was in the beginning. Those who want to be part of this plan will do so. And those who want to fight it will fight it till their destruction. That's my thoughts, and I'm open to comments, feedback, and ideas.